I'm Abigail, and on this channel I talk about things that remind me of Black Mirror. And today we're talking about the legend of Beff Jezos. The most interesting thing about Beff is that he openly advocates for actions that he believes would likely kill everyone. But he also genuinely believes that that would be a good thing.
I am willing to go all the way, whatever it takes, right, to defend these ideas, and I won't let sort of this sort of pressure or reputational pressure affect me. I think I'm quite robust against such attacks. If they want to come after me, then, bring it. I am willing to go all the way.
These are the wise words and haunting premonitions of alt-Twitter aficionado Beff Jezos. At the forefront of the elitist tech bro accelerationist movement, the father of modern accelerationism, sorry Nick Land, your time is over, is the formerly anonymous @based Beff Jezos on Twitter, or just Beff. The E/ACC movement has some seriously powerful players, but since Beff is founder-in-chief, he is the subject of this video, and he's definitely the most interesting of all of them. He calls himself a cosmic post-humanist, which means exactly what you think it means. It means exactly what it sounds like. It's a nihilistic circle jerk ready to kill off the entire human race because of progress? Sorry, no. Actually, what it means is that they are open to the idea of AI replacing us as the dominant species because we are inherently inferior. Basically, the idea is that if we are replaceable, then we deserve to be replaced. But this totally glosses over all of the unimaginable horrors of getting to that point. I digress. So, Beff's identity has finally been revealed as of last Friday, and I'm so excited. I'm sorry, I know doxing is wrong. It was revealed by Forbes. Meet Beff, who is actually Guillaume Verdun, a former Google quantum engineer and a founder of an AI hardware startup. Beff has been unmasked, and his deeply concerning ideas are coming to light in a brand new way. He's coming after any D-cells, which D-cells means de-accelerationists, right? Which is the opposite of his movement, which is effective accelerationists. Basically, a D-cell would be anyone who wants to slow down or build AI safely or make sure it's regulated, whatever. Anybody like that would be considered a D-cell, which in their idea is a super derogatory term. Those people are halting progress. And for what? Human life? Stop. He's basically declaring war. He's calling upon his Twitter followers to, quote, arm the rebels in the AI arms race, and, quote, it's time to fight for the future we want. Don't let the D-cells take it from us. I will explain all of this, so if you are super confused, please just stick with me, and I promise this will be pretty interesting. Let's start at the beginning and get some background, yeah? So, based Beff Jezos on Twitter/X. He goes by Beff and boasts over 68,000 followers since his account was created last August. His bio actually sums everything up quite well. He says Chief Accelerator and Founder at E/ACC, which stands for Effective Accelerationism, / Building Extropic AI, / Thermodynamic Priest, / Kardashev Gradient Climber, / Mimetic Landscape Sculptor. So he calls himself the Chief Accelerator and Founder of E/ACC, or Effective Accelerationism. If you've ever been on Twitter and you follow any accounts relating to AI or tech, you've most likely seen this in various usernames, the E/ACC. That does stand for the Effective Accelerationism. Accelerationists want to speed up technological progress regardless of the consequences to most of humanity, which would likely be disastrous. And they also want to speed up capitalism. So it's a whole big, we need to move fast as possible.
At EAC, essentially, we believe that the engine of progress of civilization is something we call the techno-capital machine, which is a cybernetic loop between technology and capital, and that this sort of loop is a form of intelligence that is optimizing itself to grow.
Effective accelerationism is a play on effective altruism, which is the group that's trying to slow progress in developing AGI and superintelligences in order to make sure that it's done safely and correctly and in our best interest as a species. But in the eyes of Jeff, those people have been safe-pilled.
Obviously, ACC, we're talking about acceleration is the word that you're using. It's EA. You're making a play on effective altruism.
Yeah.
Why is everything a pill? Why is it safe-pilled? What? Safe? He then said, the feeling of contributing to something greater that, quote, gives you that infinite dopamine well to grind through the long nights, to skip the holiday dinners, to just file more IP and put in the hours. E/ACC at this point is almost like a form of spirituality, which, my guy, that sounds horrible. You're skipping holiday dinners to file more IP? Stop. Go see your family. It sounds horrible to me, but he thinks it's noble. And he sees himself as both like godlike and also detrimentally human, and that's really interesting to me. He doesn't just want to let AI progress without concern or halt. He wants to speed it up, along with capitalism, both, as much as possible. Speeding up capitalism until it inevitably collapses in on itself, and developing tech until it surpasses us in every single way. Now, the way they found out Bef's identity was actually pretty cool. They used like a voice analysis software and then also like some just detective work. Bef was not happy about this though, and so he's basically declaring war. He also retweeted, "They will try to psyop you, regulate you, dox you, discredit you. They will never play fair." And he also said, "I would strongly advise betting against me," which is ominous as hell. But amidst all the warrior talk, this guy is at heart a 4chan nerd and tweeted just a few days ago that he spent the day IRL maxing and absolutely mogging the room service guy with my consumption of espressos and Diet Coke starting at 4 a.m. LMFAO.
Thank you for your service, sir. It is very important. The memes are excellent. And I think I agree they are powerful. I
said that posting here just doesn't feel the same. The whole point of this alt was to broadcast unrestricted thoughts. And yeah, it probably doesn't feel the same anymore, because you can't do all this anonymously anymore. But he also, since being exposed, tweeted, "I have no alt and I must scream," which was kind of funny, I can't lie. This guy does have some funny tweets, or as Elon put it, 3 fire emojis, like this one. AI bros / astrology girls nerding out over Gemini. I thought that was pretty funny. So he is capable of being funny, and he's obviously very smart, having been a quantum engineer. It's a shame, really, if anything, that this is how it turned out. He said his Twitter account doesn't actually reflect his true personality, though. The account was apparently engineered to go viral and to get attention for this movement. In real life, he said he's just a gentle Canadian, which is a stark contrast to the cyber warrior that is Beff Jezos. So who is Gilliam? Well, while he was working at Google's Moonshot lab, he started a side NFT business, and it was supposed to be an April Fool's joke, but then it just, totally took off. So he kept it going, and he said, quote, "It's like it was meta-ironic, and then it became post-ironic." I don't know why they all talk like this. Why do they all talk? Everything is meta or post. At this point, though, the money was rolling in from his project, and so he invested it into new computers, and then he goes full vagabond, sells his car, and moves back in with his parents. When Beff started the account, he recalled how it was just a way to satisfy his Twitter addiction, that it felt like a video game.
For me, I use Twitter as a sort of a dopamine hit. Very straight-laced. I just drink Diet Coke. If I feel fancy, it's Diet Dr. Pepper, and use Twitter, and that's it. Those are my drugs of choice.
And as time went on, he started to find a sense of community in the movement that he created.
It was like, oh my god, I found my people. Nowadays it's kind of condensating and physically in the physical world in SF primarily. But to me, it was I was seeking a sense of community, and it's late night. You're in a Twitter space. You're talking about the meaning of life. Where do we come from? Where are we going? It's like 4 a.m. or something after a long day of work, and you just have these sort of like fireside. It feels very primally correct.
Also, I kind of have to wonder if his post-humanist views have changed at all, even just a little bit, since he gained a sense of community. And I like to think they might have started to. Hear me out. See, we as humans need connection to other people. We need a sense of community, belonging. It's extremely important psychologically, and it makes complete sense that somebody who felt completely isolated and alone wouldn't grieve the human race all that much, may even look forward to its annihilation. This is part of what drives things like mass shootings, right? He had a very similar mindset that we see in people who do go on to commit great acts of violence like that, which obviously Beff hasn't done. I'm not saying in any way that he would. But he has created an entire movement based on devaluing and annihilating humanity. So there's some overlap, right? I have a feeling that a significant amount of effective accelerationists are probably lonely and isolated and don't feel all that connected to humanity at all. Therefore, they don't care. And how much can we really expect them to? Healthy Gamer GG did an interview with a man who had planned out an entire school shooting, right, when he was 13 years old, I think. And he had the weapon, he had everything ready, date picked out, all set. But one day, in the weeks leading up to this, he made a friend. And that was all it took to change his entire mindset. Just some inkling of connection to other people, just someone that cared. This might seem super irrelevant, and I am in no way comparing effective accelerationists with mass shooters. Please don't get that confused, but you can't deny the similarity in the motivations. They both think humans deserve to suffer for one reason or another, but mainly because the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And while you can blame the child, the village is hardly blameless either, right? And we're all the village.
At the time I was working for big tech remotely from Canada, I was extremely bored. I was like starved to have a sort of tech community, to have like good intellectual discussions. So like Twitter Spaces and this part of Twitter, as it's called, was sort of ideal. It was like, oh my God, I found my people.
He planned to design a microchip that would run large language models like GPTs and things. And he managed to raise over $14 million to do this, which is highly impressive. But now he's pretty upfront about the clandestine nature of whatever this project is, saying, quote, "If you knew what I was building, you would try and ban it." He's also referred to it as the AI Manhattan Project. So here's the deal. The project is likely related to his other ideas, obviously, and related to accelerationism, is that he effectively wants to program a civilization to incentivize certain behaviors with gradients and rewards to engineer the culture that he desires. He wants to gamify the world, effectively, and like I mentioned before, everything and everyone is the equivalent of a video game to this man. No, and it's one he can win. Is he that far off, though? Hear me out. I mean, if you think about how much of our culture and our lives are already gamified since all of these algorithms came out, he's not wrong that it's possible. Like, we as humans are so susceptible to this that it could actually work, and that's why it's really scary, because he's not necessarily wrong. I don't want to discredit him completely in that regard, because some of his ideas are good and I fully agree with them. For instance, he believes that AI should never end up in the hands of a single company, like OpenAI, and I definitely agree. OpenAI is really tied up with all the effective altruists and the D-cells, but who's to say that OpenAI isn't just using this safety to create a monopoly of the most powerful technology in the world? And their current control over AI is no less concerning than any of Bef's views, in my opinion. As they're doing the exact same thing, at the end of the day, they're building these things in secret, because if we knew, we'd probably try to ban it. Sam Altman's reinstatement, I believe, is probably further proof of that, but I don't know. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Bef is a force of good, unfortunately. See, all of E/ACC ties back to Nick Land, originally, who is the founder of Accelerationism. Accelerationism is not the same as effective accelerationism, but it's what it's based on. When Bef engineered this account to go mega viral, by spreading all these new ideas as this movement and gaining all these followers, he used one of Nick Land's most popular ideas, which is something called hyperstition, which is the creation of something from nothing. But the truth is that nobody knows anything about what accelerating would actually look like, and no one can say what it would actually entail. War? Humans turned slave to machines? Widespread poverty and economic collapse? Or a utopia?
And so whatever comes next is probably going to be as intelligent, if not more intelligent than we are. And we're open to whatever comes next. And I think there's a sort of calm and serenity that comes with accepting whatever comes next.
The most interesting thing about Bef is that he openly advocates for actions that he believes would likely kill everyone. But he also genuinely believes that that would be a good thing. In the E/ACC manifesto, it's written, "The overarching goal of humanity is to preserve the light of consciousness." And the fact is that consciousness might not always be limited to humans or biological things. So if we could hypothetically preserve it in a machine, then that would be ideal, right? No, but maybe. This is an entry from the Effective Accelerationism wiki about Bef that shows just how godlike they view this man to be. Or maybe he wrote those himself, just being real. That's very possible. During the coronavirus pandemic of the early 21st century, Bef's writings and philosophical output accelerated to the extent that it gained a life of its own and earned recognition as a movement. Many have compared this to Newton's creation or Newtonian physics during the Great Plague of London. Truly, social isolation is a deceleration for some and an accelerant for others. The bubbling of mimetic concepts that could not be contained within his own body were forced to spread and have multiplied greatly ever since. Bef continues to be the primary leader of the leaderless movement. I like how they added social isolation is a deceleration for some and an accelerant for others. That's really interesting. I really wonder how many effective accelerationists would still feel that way if they weren't alone. And is that all it takes to change their mind? Maybe, because who wants to watch something they love burn? You want to watch something you hate burn. And if you hate humanity and you hate this world and you're alone. Now, back to that quote, I don't know of anyone who compared this anonymous Twitter account with 60,000 followers to the creation of Newtonian physics. But sure, we'll let it ride. Bef is well on his way to a Nobel Prize, apparently. But Bef himself has taken pride in explaining that the account, and by extension the entire movement, was engineered to exist exactly the way that it does. Whether the movement itself has any validity, by popularizing it in these vague and incomplete ways via Twitter, he's allowed his followers to apply whatever they want to believe in to this movement, right? He's never once explained the actual appearance of a post-accelerated world. This is pretty smart because you could choose whatever you want to believe the outcome will be. Think about it. If you're angry and you want to watch the world burn, then you'll probably join up with this movement. If you're optimistic about technology and want to see a futuristic utopia of intelligence explosion, you'll probably join up with this movement. If you're bored and you just want something exciting to happen, probably join up with this movement, right? The reality is that all three of these people would consider themselves effective accelerationists, yet they have no idea that they all want completely different things. And this is why Bef's methods were so successful. Because you get all these people fighting for something that is, at best, a random draw of outcomes, right? By the end, assuming all three of those people that I mentioned survive, only one is going to be happy and the other two will be shit out of luck at best. See, what I want for Bef or any accelerationist to propose a concrete idea of what comes after the acceleration. That's all. They say E/ACC is not an ideology. It's not a movement. It's simply an acknowledgement of truth. But what exactly is that truth? Is the truth that it's inevitable? The whole Beff Jezos vibe is that of power, warriors, masculine Aries energy, but the movement is inherently defeatist on itself. It defeats itself. They've just accepted that their life is over, or that it should be over, and it might as well be now that it ends, that everything ends. You can think of it like this, maybe. Imagine there's like a huge wildfire, like out of control wildfire that's easily about to burn down the entire city and everyone you love. You have some options. You could get behind the firefighters, you could evacuate, you could try and fight the fire. That would be similar to what effective altruists or decels would be trying to do in this situation, right? Even if the fire is too big, too hot, burning way too fast, they believe that you should still try and fight the fire or at best evacuate all the people. Bef and the accelerationists believe that we should not only let the fire burn as it will, but we should set more fires in all cities and get burned alive in the wildfire because we are inherently inferior to the more powerful force of fire. And therefore we deserve to get burned alive, as that is the will and order of nature. The issue with this is that we as humans are not necessarily less powerful than fire or technology, right? We have the ability to put the fire out, to use strategy and critical thinking to escape or to run, right? We could prevent the fire from spreading and make plans to mitigate fire risks in the future. That's a major flaw in their argument, in my opinion, because that you have to be able to beat a superintelligence with brute force, face to face. I would argue that humans are more powerful than a superintelligence. I think we could beat it, because we could just never build it. A mother's life is never going to be threatened by a son she never had. And until that son is born, the mother is much more powerful than the son. She has control over his very existence, like we do with these machines. There's one article called "Why Would We Expect a Superintelligence to Be Hostile?" And they make a really important point. AGI would play by different rules of logic, similar to like how your mind works in a completely different framework if you take acid, right? It mentions how if you gave a superintelligence the goal of curing cancer, it could release a genetically engineered virus that kills all the cells in your body, including the cancerous ones, and kills you and everyone you know, but it did what you asked. It cured cancer. There is no more cancer. We dropped the cancer rate to 0, which is what it was asked to do, and it did it effectively. This AI that just killed everyone may seem hostile, but it really isn't. It's actually nice and kind, and it's a sweetheart, or at least it would think so, because it's followed your instructions. It solved your problem. It's just misaligned. So you don't need a super intelligence to be the Terminator. You don't need it to be some big evil force for it to be harmful. It can be good, great even, and just misaligned. But that's all it takes. Now, the idea of a good superintelligence governing us seems kind of nice, right? But in reality, we'd probably see wars between superintelligences fighting for control. Your good superintelligence might be another country's nightmare. And where do we fall in a war of AGIs? Dead. We'd be dead. We'd be so dead. But Bef is okay with that because it fulfills his cyber warrior fantasies. That's the problem. You can't even argue with these people. You can't be like, but that'll kill everyone. And they're like, I know. Yeah.
Don't we all want that? Don't we all want to be,
It's
amongst the stars?
More than that.
That's the thing. No, that's actually, I mean, for us three, yes, but that's actually like a core,
it's
core
not
difference.
He's been considering debating a bunch of people, Connor Leahy for one, which I hope he does, and also Eliza Yudowski. And I want to see those debates, but I also feel like it's kind of impossible to debate with him because he wants the worst outcome possible. How do you argue with somebody that's like, like you could be like, but that'll kill people, but that'll hurt people, but that'll be a disaster, but da-da-da-da-da. He's like, I know. You can't argue with that, really. You just gotta question why he feels that way. And I think that goes back to my similar, like, burning the village. You're isolated, you're sad, you don't feel any connection to humanity. You don't give a fuck what happens to it, right? And then you can be this kind of cool cyber warrior guy on Twitter. I think it comes down to this. If you have anyone on this planet that you care deeply about, you probably shouldn't get on board with this movement. If you're angry and isolated and want to watch the world burn, this is the movement for you. But I do hope that you'll at least try to find a sense of community, even within the accelerationist movement, like Bef has. And I bet you'll change your mind. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe I've got that all wrong. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and follow me on Twitter. The link is in the description. Thank you so much, and be safe out there, okay?